Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? It is your favorite pastor, Pastor G. I'm on here, another episode of the Sanctuary Podcast, and I thank you guys for tuning in today. We have a very special episode, as always, on today. I got one of my good friends on here with me today, Coach Brian. He's going to come on in just a minute, but let me set this thing up before he comes on. We're talking about consistency on today. You know, consistency is the thing that many of us feel is fleeting in today's dating world. But today, myself, Coach Brian, we want to dive into this conversation and give you our male perspective on this thing called consistency. Let's bring them on right now. Coach Brian, my boy.
Hey, what's going on, man?
You got it, man. It's your world. It's your world, doctor. How your week
Yeah,
been
man.
thus far?
Good, man. I've been starting controversy since Monday.
Listen, I love it. If there was never ever any controversy, the world wouldn't go around.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. You know, and I'm glad that you came on today, man, for this conversation regarding consistency because I believe, first of all, since we are both male, that we get a bad rap, especially for not being consistent. Now, I'm
hmm
not saying that we aren't, but I feel like people feel like, as a whole, men are not consistent nowadays in this dating realm. What you think,
hmm
Doc?
I think it is definitely something that many men struggle with.
Hmm.
However, when we're looking at the conversations that we're having,
Hmm.
the consistency that is required a lot of times
Hmm.
is something that many of the women are truly not ready for.
Sir,
They're not ready for it.
sir.
Because a consistency from an individual that's bringing something valuable into your life
Hmm.
requires you to first look at yourself.
Come on now.
You got to look at who you are and what it is you're asking for.
Yes,
So we're
indeed.
constantly inundated as men with conversations of being a man that consistently shows up
Hmm.
for responsibilities
Hmm.
that should have been handled by her first. And what
Okay.
we do is we're filling the gap of those areas that she is not able to fully complete,
Hmm.
but at least there's an attempt. We're not even seeing an attempt from many of those that are asking for a man's consistency. You're asking for a man's consistency at the price tag of what's in his wallet. You're
Sir.
asking for a man's consistency at the price tag of him giving you things and experiences that you should have determined were even best for you.
Hmm.
So when you're asking a man for consistency, it needs to be a consistency where he is investing into you things that are necessary, not things that are shiny. The
Come
shiny
on.
things that you're asking for from him
Hmm.
are reserved for the moments of commemoration. They're not reserved for the moments of show and tell to those who you are trying to show off to.
Mm. Let me go back to something that you said. You said a lot of times you feel like there are certain females who are asking for a level of consistency that they're not ready for.
hmm
That is a statement and a sermon by itself. I don't think we sometimes examine and ask ourselves the question, are you ready for that kind of consistency? Because what I have found, man, is that it's very easy to call a man out for not coming through on something. But what about when a man shows up and not just checks show boxes, but he does things that you were not expecting? And he becomes so consistent that you become afraid of him, but you don't want to acknowledge that you are afraid because if you do that, you have to now say, I might not be ready for what I'm asking for. And I found, man, that there are a lot of women who want X, Y, and Z in a man and complain about not getting it because their past is filled with obvious individuals that could not meet that expectation. And now in the present moment, there are a lot of women, I believe, man, who know in their heart, I'll only deal with a certain type of man to avoid being accountable if things go left. You know what I'm saying? When because you can sometimes create situations where you know I have my stuff together, so I will only deal with a person that I know is not quite on my level
Now, why
to
you gotta
left.
go there? Why you gotta go there?
I'm just saying that I have
So,
found that to be true a lot.
so what you're essentially saying is this right here.
Come
This
on,
is what I hear you saying.
talk
So
to me.
essentially, a strong woman will go for a man that's a work in progress
Mhm.
so that her progress never gets interrupted because his progress looks of lesser than her progress. But
Exactly.
then when you get around a strong man, the strong man actually takes the strength that you have and causes you to look at it and say, okay, you've been lifting like this. And while that worked in this sequence and this person, what I'm requiring you to do is spread this out a little bit more.
Mhm.
Spread this out a little
Yeah.
bit more.
I think that there are some women who have been swimming in the shallow end so long that now when the serious man comes in, you realize I can't tread water. Let me go back to what I'm used to because I am not ready for this level of accountability, right? Like society tells us that men are not ready. Society tells us that men like a Coach Brian or Gregory Devon don't exist because apparently, and we're black men at that. Apparently, we don't pay our bills. We don't own homes. We don't want to get married. We haven't been to college. We're uneducated. We don't want to work. When you and I both know those things to not be true, you and I both know plenty of men who break that stereotype, but we still pass it along like it really exists, right? And nowhere along this line do we give men who are getting married each and every day credit for stepping up. We don't highlight those men, but as soon as one messes up, we highlight it, right? Let me go, let me rewind this thing. When it concerns consistency, when a man meets a woman initially, if I were to ask you this, how consistent or what level of being consistent is required right now? You just met her, we exchanged numbers, boom.
So I'm going to call this a low level of consistency because the low level of consistency, it's composed of surface,
Mhm,
meaning that I'm just meeting you. If I
mhm.
say I'm going to call you and I don't call you, what expectations can you have about that? Because there's not anything established.
Right.
So consistency, like we talked about earlier,
Mhm,
consistency comes in levels.
mhm.
There's the first level of consistency where I'm putting my best foot forward,
Right.
where the representative is on the interview and he's submitting to you his AI powered resume.
Yes,
Oh, I've
sir.
done all of these different things. Oh, in the previous relationships, I did these things right here. Or showing that, you know what, I have some experience in these areas.
Mhm,
Then you have the second level of consistency, meaning that from a relationship standpoint or from a dating standpoint, I'm going to give you the attention consistently that is required to
mhm,
keep you engaged.
mm.
But when we start talking about the heavier levels of consistency, now we got to talk about if we get into an argument and the previous times that we had a disagreement,
Yes,
you
sir.
was peaceful.
Mhm.
Are you going to now raise your voice? Or are you going to consistently keep in mind that this relationship is so valuable to you that my lowest tone voice means I honor and love the femininity that you're going to produce by giving the answer back to me.
So we're talking about emotional availability and emotional maturity.
Mm. That needs to be
Consistently,
consistent
consistently
first.
being supportive in the way that each other feels and not abandoning one another in a moment of what I call heated fellowship. That's what you're saying. I feel you. It has been
Emotions.
said, Coach, that men lack emotional maturity. How you feel about that?
Well, I'll say this right here. To a certain degree,
Mhm.
that can be true.
Mhm.
But here is the thing.
Yes, sir.
What safe spaces do men have to express themselves with women that have an expectation of them to provide to them things that they believe a woman should have for them, but give them no space to recharge? When there is a space for a man to be emotionally safe with that woman, it's a moment of recharging because I get a chance to put away the cape that you so much love, and I get a chance to come into the realization that it's okay for me to be human. When can I consistently be human in our conversations?
Yes, sir. I love it. And let me tell you, I think that a lot of us, to your point, we use the analogy of Superman often. When I've come here recently to understand that I think that men honestly operate more like Batman because Batman was actually human, as opposed to Superman was an alien posing as a man. And I think that that's relevant because we do try to be Superman consistently, and we have no choice but to fail because Superman was an alien. Clark Kent was the man he pretended to be, but even Clark Kent was really the character because the man actually was an alien, Superman. Bruce Wayne is a human being. Batman is the alter ego, the hero. Bruce Wayne can go from either or, but I think us as men, we are so stuck on trying to be Batman, the superhero, that we don't realize it's okay to be Bruce Wayne. It's okay to be a man. And the reason I feel sometimes that we do not feel safe in our emotions consistently is because we're made to feel like you have to be Batman. You have to hide Bruce Wayne because she's infatuated or in love with Batman. When the reality, a good woman is actually in love with Bruce Wayne. And she wants us as men to consistently understand the value of Bruce Wayne and Batman. But it is very hard for us sometimes to operate as a human being, Bruce Wayne, because we're made to feel like it's not okay to be human. It is not okay to be a man, or we're taught that men don't have emotions, men don't cry, men don't feel pain. That's a toxic belief has been ingrained in generations of men, which then affects now how we show up consistently in every arena: dating, relationship, marriage. Sometimes we're trying to consistently be the wrong kind of man or the wrong thing at the wrong time. Or we consistently what? Misinterpret each other because neither one of us has read the playbook on the other person. So tell me this, coach. In regard to consistent communication, I know you mentioned earlier that in the very beginning, the expectation cannot be but so heavy and so high because we're brand new. And I interpret that as this. You're saying that I'm not going to ingrain relationship into initial dating because we're not certain yet if that level of consistency would be a good decision for me at this moment, because I have not studied you enough to figure out, will there be a future? Am I correct?
That is correct. When people come into conversations
Yeah.
and they put heavy expectations
Right.
on you to give them relationship elements,
Mm-hmm.
there's an imbalance. Like, okay, I'm gonna give you an example. There's been plenty of times where I have come across young ladies that I was interested in and vice versa.
Right.
And they expected me in the first couple of hours
Yeah.
to exhibit behaviors that put them first.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Right.
Because why would I invest
Mm-hmm.
things that are reserved
Mm-hmm.
for intimate time spent between us,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no intimate time that has been established for us to even get there? It's the beginning stages. It's the beginning stages. Like,
Yeah.
I remember, I'll give you an example.
Sure.
So probably like last year, there was a young lady that I really, when I say was really feeling, I mean, in my mind, I said, if I ever get the opportunity to get in the space with this young woman to give me a chance, I was going to jump on it. So the opportunity came.
Yeah.
And when the opportunity came, I put my best foot forward.
Mm-hmm.
I was sending text messages. I did FaceTime. I made it clear. I communicated. But what happened was, this was it. What happened in the midst of this situation was I realized something. I said, I have put an expectation on you to give me the same energy that I'm giving to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I came out disappointed when I realized that the energy that I was looking for,
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't ready to reciprocate it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And we could see it in little bitty stuff. Like I remember, and this is like really just opened my eyes. I remember I asked her what she was going to be getting for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
She perceived that as me driving to go see her. Now, we're 6 hours away. I'm not going to go do lunch for you. You're 6 hours away. That's bigger planning.
Right.
But I Zelled her lunch money.
Right.
Didn't tell her.
Yeah.
Do you know that before the day was over, before that night was over,
mm-hmm.
we almost stopped talking? Because the expectation that she had was, I'm expecting you to do things this one way,
mm-hmm.
but you're doing it in a way that I'm not used to or I'm not expecting. And so because I can't see that your expectation involves it being the way that I want it to be, now you are doing something that really isn't best. Now, we're not talking about me picking up the phone and calling you. We're not talking about me taking you out to eat. Right. We're talking about me putting money in your account for you to go to lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And that in and of itself showed me and said, this person really isn't consistently invested in really understanding your effort.
Mm-hmm.
So for many men, we struggle with this aspect.
Mm-hmm.
We struggle that if I'm going to be consistent with you,
mm-hmm.
are your emotions going to now get you to tell a story that's not true?
Mm.
Let me
You
tell you
know, I
something.
think I think
Go ahead.
that to your point about that, would you say that some men are afraid or hesitant to be consistent for fear of their generosity being taken advantage of?
Yeah, they are. They definitely are. And because we live in a time and a culture that is so inundated, that is so obsessed, that is so engulfed in the definition of provision, it is expected that you have the conversation and you begin the process of detaching them from financial responsibilities that they have had well before you came into the equation.
Yeah.
Detach me from these financial responsibilities. You know how many times I hear the lady, and I know you've seen this for yourself. You know how many times I done gone on social media and women are complaining, I, I don't feel like paying this bill.
Yeah.
I just, like, there was one, I'm going to call it dumb. I don't try to call people dumb.
Hmm.
But this woman said, can we go back to the beginning of time when there were no bills? And I had to sit there and look at the status, and I just like, so you want to go back to the beginning of the time, no electricity, no car, no
Right.
Maybach, no hair
Right.
that you can buy. You gotta wear your roots. Mhm.
What was her response?
But they're expecting men to come in and automatically, because I find you attractive or I'm interested in you now, I need you to interest and attract these financial responsibilities.
Right.
Detach me from them
Right.
so that I can give you a chance. But I heard a wise man say recently, had a wise man say recently,
Hmm.
if I have to pay the cost to convince you, then your interest is only multiplied by what I can do for you.
Right.
And when I stop doing for you, your interest will die.
Indeed. Indeed. I think it is a very toxic belief that provision and providing rather is about money and money only, because you could have a man who's making well over $100,000, right? Who might pay all your bills, right? But is still not a good provider.
Come on.
I say that because providing is about infrastructure and
Mhm.
provision. If you have a man in your life as a woman who understands infrastructure, who understands how to make this family function, right? A hard-working man, a planning man, right? A man who shows up financially, physically, emotionally, spiritually, but your eyes are only on his wallet, then you have no clue what provision and providing really is, right? A man can lose his job. If that man's a provider, he will still be a provider because he will still show up emotionally, spiritually, physically, right? Whatever he does bring in now, he will still bring it in and spread it out, knowing that it's not what I used to make, but I'm working hard now, right? And matter of fact, if a man starts making less, gets laid off, whatever, a sensible man understands, you know what? I am not as high here as I used to be. So what I'll do now is I'll make more time in another area. And by doing that, it now frees her up to do something different. But because our eyes are only on the finances, our eyes are only on what a man does monetarily, then we miss the fact that, you know what? What happens if the man gets injured? What happens if he does get laid off? The severance is now worn out. What do you do now? As you mentioned, if your interest was on his money, Does your love now fade or fleet now? What do you do in these moments now? And to your point offline about social media, before social media, this was not a conversation. We would never go back and forth prior to social media. We have allowed Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of these platforms to create these false narratives about men and women, which are not true, right? And I hate to see any woman tell a man what he should be doing, especially when she is not doing what she needs to do as a woman. Because if you were a virtuous woman, right, a sensible, seasoned woman, those kind of women never go back and forth with a man about what he needs to be doing, especially a man who is not her man.
You
It's
saying
blood
something,
sweet
man.
to no end when that happens. Go ahead.
You're saying something like, I think we have to look at, when we're looking at relationships,
Yeah.
we have to look at, okay, if we look at relationship content,
Mm-hmm.
it is probably one of the biggest cash cows that we will ever have.
Absolutely.
You have matchmakers,
Mm-hmm.
you have relationship coaches, you
Mm-hmm.
have therapists, you
Mhm.
have lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
you have people that benefit. Let's go even further. You have the judicial system,
Yeah.
which to certain degrees, the judicial system benefits from the dysfunction of relationships.
Absolutely.
In the state of Texas, do you know how much money they get every time a child support case is settled?
How much?
25 cents
Oh wow.
out of every child support case that's settled.
Wow.
25 cents. Meaning that it is a vested interest in governmental places for you to be dysfunctional in a
Right.
relationship.
Right.
Think about it like this.
Wow.
I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but I believe in releasing secrets. Think about how many coaches
Mm-hmm.
are sitting and waiting on your dysfunction. And they have the ability to help you get together in 3 months, but they stretch it out to 9 months because they realize that if I can get you as long as I can get you even while you are healed
Mm-hmm.
to give me more money than you're really supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
It's a money thing.
Yeah. And it's sad that things have gotten to that point, and it's sad that as men and women, we make decisions based upon those things which are true. We become so emotional about it, we attack each other and not the system or not the problem. And I think that we've got children suffering because there are a lot of relationships, man, that really could be saved. I say this, I don't ever think that people fall out of love. I don't. My belief is this, that you fall out of forgiveness, right? Because just like God's mercies are new every morning, we don't understand how in relationship that forgiveness has to be forever.
Mm.
And forgiveness has to be done not when you are offended. Forgiveness has to be done at the altar. Forgiveness has to be done when you say I do to one another.
Mm.
You are saying, I love what I know of you, but I trust
What I
what
don't know.
has yet to be revealed.
Reveal.
So that when I am offended, when you hurt me, because you will, when I hurt you, let's go ahead and exchange grace and mercy now, because I need grace to grow. You need grace to grow. We as a unit need grace to grow. And if we do not give each other grace and space to grow, I think this too, man. The person who said love means never having to say I'm sorry was an idiot. Because love means I will forever be telling you, I apologize, I'm sorry. Because you have to forgive, forgive, forgive. And I know somebody wants to say, well, who wants to keep doing that over and over again? Well, if you want to be married, you better. Forever is a long time. I think that we look, Brian, for these pretty relationship scenarios to teach us about forgiveness, about relationship, about longevity. When I think that one of the greatest examples of what grace looks like is the relationship between Jesus and Judas. We give Judas a bad reputation because we judge his life by the end and not the entire thing. Yeah, in the end, he messed up. But let's not forget that Judas was close to Jesus. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Judas comes to betray him. Jesus says, dear friend, do what you came to do. Dear friend suggests what? Intimacy. We have a close relationship. He could have just said brother. He said dear friend. They had a close relationship. Judas was in charge of the money. Scripture says, where your heart is, your treasure is also. Jesus is what? Omniscient, meaning all-knowing.
All-knowing.
So when I chose you
I
as
knew
an apostle, I knew
you had the
that one day
capability.
you will betray me, right? That means that I decided when I met you, I'm going to already give you grace. I'm going to already give you mercy. I will not allow what I know you're going to do to cause me to lose relationship with you. I will still allow you to operate in my life. I will still give you a level of trust. I will still give you an intimate relationship with me, right? Now, us as human beings don't know how to do that because what we say is, well, I just fell out of love. How do you fall out of something that you said was unconditional? Now, granted, I always say, now, yes, love is unconditional, but relationships are not. I understand. And even the Bible says, if you're married and if infidelity happens, you have the right to leave. But you don't have to leave, but you have the right to leave, right? My thing is this. Why are we so quick to love and so hesitant to forgive? Same person, we will omit all the good that they have done. We will forget all the things that they have done to us, all because of one offense. And I don't mean cheating, anything else but that. We will quickly leave a relationship or say I fell out of love, all because the conditions now are not consistently as they were in the beginning. But have I given grace to evolve, grace to grow? Have I realized that I might have some accountability in the offense that they did to me? And again, I am not talking about cheating. I'm not. Can I admit that I have been guilty of unfaithfulness? But I'm talking about the unfaithfulness that means I have not been as devoted in this season as I was in the beginning. And I have made you feel unappreciated. So while I'm looking at you And I'm saying you have consistently given me a vibe that I don't like.
Mm.
I don't realize I am the one who cut the rope and allowed your boat to row out into the sea away from me and get tossed in the wind because why? I'm not consistently present.
Mm.
Talk to me.
You said something about Judas and Jesus.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking about how emotions can tell the story of what your subconscious
Sir.
is not necessarily able to convey. I'll tell you something I told somebody that I'm coaching. And they were telling me about a dream that they had. And what a lot of people don't know in this thing called life, we have this part of our heart, our mind, called the subconscious.
Yes, sir.
Now, what I've discovered in the last 5-10 years, and again, I try to get people to think about this.
Mhm.
The majority of the things that we believe in our lives, we subconsciously have already played out the result of what we want to believe inside the subconscious.
Absolutely.
And so when someone hurts us, we have a knee-jerk response to respond to them in the way that subconsciously we know they're going to play out. So a person could step on our shoes, but because 50 other people stepped on our shoes, we believe that after they stepped on our shoes, these steps are going to follow. We're very methodical in the way that we think about things. And we have a method, and we believe that a person that may make a mistake one time has the ability to continuously do those things. And so what ends up happening a lot of times in many of these relationships, again, is men are not given the opportunity to really show themselves because financially they didn't match up, or emotionally they didn't know something. So because you didn't pick up on this as a man, I don't want to teach you what it is that you need to know. That woman, I'm going to say this right here. There are women that don't give grace because they expect a man to pay attention to information that you don't even want to share.
Right.
You don't want to share that information. You expect him to be prophetic and figure it out. And the thing about it is that the movies have painted this picture that a man magically is going to figure out all the things that you need as a woman. And if he don't love me like this, he don't love me. That's extreme.
Right.
That's toxic.
Yeah.
That's not a definition of real love. Real love, I'm going to say something right here. Real love requires the patience to crack your curiosity. I'm curious about you. And because I'm curious about you, I'm willing to stick around until you either cure my curiosity or you give me something new to think about. Maybe it is to test me and to see, do I really believe in love the way that I say that I believe in love, or do I believe in love according to what price tag love should give to me?
That's good, sir. I think that we do place an expectation on love as if love is an inanimate object, right? We don't realize that the love that I say that I have can be no better than I am, which is why if I don't consistently feed my intellect about what love is, what God says love should look like. Like I think a lot of Christians stop at God is love. I ain't gonna argue with you. But what does that mean to you? Like, do you know the character of God? Do you know how God tends to respond or how God has responded, right? What God has done in the past in his word and in your life, right? Because when you understand that how God responds and how God tends to respond to us and act towards us, you'll realize I'll never say that love doesn't hurt. Oh,
Love is a
love will make
discovery.
you say ouch because
It's a discovery.
love, come, come on, sir.
It's a discovery
Love, it make you see yourself.
in
Like
ways that you
it'll
didn't
make you
know.
see the parts of you that you don't want to see. And sometimes God will allow you to encounter a person who is the light bulb in your life, who shines light on those dark areas that you do not want to see. Because they love you so much that they will say to you what everybody else won't say. And they'll take the penalty. They'll take the pushback. They'll take your mouth. They'll take your fussing. And they'll be so patient with you that you'll become angry because you become uncomfortable with what they make you see. It ain't even obvious sometimes. Sometimes it's subtle things. Sometimes their patience points out your short temper.
Mm.
Sometimes their organization points out your need to improve. Sometimes their good money management points out the fact that you do not have good stewardship. And sometimes them being who they are, instead of you realizing that, you know what? Maybe God allowed me to see the yin to my yang. Maybe God allowed me to encounter the part in me that's missing. They have it. But I'm so uncomfortable and uneasy that I want to hide or seemingly hide these things from this person, but they see it.
You said
Then
something.
you end up pushing that person out of your life.
You said something,
Come on
and
with it.
it's a little light bulb hit me, right? So we're talking about provision. We have this conversation almost more often than not, right?
Yes, sir.
You said something about stewardship, right?
Mhm.
Why would God allow financial provision to be given to you when the way that you steward the substance that he does give to you falls short of you being a person in a position to actually get those things from someone else?
Lift your hands.
Now, ladies, hopefully you're listening. I'm not trying to beat you up, but I'm trying to help you that many of you are inundated with a understanding of provision that requires you to truly understand that with what's given to you, there's a responsibility. Let me tell you something that my mother told me many, many years ago. My dad um, provided amazing. There was a time frame where the provider that he was basically, dealing with, he basically lost his job.
Uh-huh.
He got a severance package of about 11,000. Okay, cool. Do you know that summer I knew that my father was unemployed? But do you know that because of my mother
Uh-huh.
and her stewardship, not a bill, not a light, not a cable, not a satellite, not a clothing, not anything was dropped. And the thing that I learned from my mother is this: a man should consider providing for a woman
Mhm.
that is faithful with the substance that she has in her hand.
Yes, sir.
Meaning that if he makes 150,000 and you make 70,000, that 70,000 that you got, if he's taking care of all of the responsibilities, that 70,000 should go into a jar called a rainy day,
Come on.
and to prepare for the opportunity to beat the famine, because the famine is going to come. And
Yep.
the famine might not be y'all don't have enough money to take care of bills and responsibilities. The famine might be that there is a break in one of the pipes and daddy's bills are tied up. But mama got saved 28,000 and it cost 6,000 to get the pipes fixed. And so mama can take out of that 28,000, 6,000, and guess what? Daddy will never miss a beat. Ladies, before you're asking that man to provide as your husband, can you be trusted with the vision of preservation? Can you preserve what God has placed in your hand and prepare for the day where you will then be able to bring provision into the household? Because provision is not just a man's job. Provision is a dual job that is orchestrated and led by the man. So though you may not necessarily be providing in this season, you will have to provide something that adds to that vision. Just want to throw that out there.
Let me tag team this sermon. If you are asking a man to be a consistent provider or a sole provider,
Come on.
you better ask yourself, can you multiply what he is providing?
Come on.
Because what are you doing as a helpmeet, right? This man brings something for you to help him with. The question now is, as you mentioned, what are you as a woman going to do with what he has provided? Because if you do not have a plan to increase that, then you have to realize that you're not positioned then to fulfill your divine assignment, right? If a husband's heart is to safely trust in his wife, there are a plethora of reasons why this man comes to that conclusion. Think about it. When the Bible talks about a man finds a wife, finds a good thing, right, and obtains favor with the Lord, I think we surface level look at that. And there are a lot of women who think that by default, I have found favor because I married you. No. You just being a woman does not benefit me. You being a virtuous wife, that benefits me. And the favor is in the fact of what a virtuous wife can do for a man of valor. That is the favor now that you've been favored to encounter that kind of woman, and more favor comes because all you provide, she has the ability to increase that, to multiply that. That is favor there. But I think a lot of times we have it out of whack that being female brings me favor. No, the favor is in the fact when you read Proverb 31, you know what I'm saying? All those attributes that she has, that woman is an industrious woman that while a 9 to 5 she might not have, but she does have the ability and the capacity to increase and to bring in income. She works with her hands, right? She has skills about herself to add to this empire. She is not just a woman sitting on her hind part, twiddling her fingers. No, she's a true helpmeet in every capacity of the word. Even that word help me itself It comes from different words that have been put together. Some mean savior, some mean helper, some mean strength. And all of these things, that is favor to a man. Because when you bring that to what he brings to the table, come on, look. And women, hear me good. This is what you have to bring to the table. It is not money. It is not. What it is that you have to bring the capacity to see what this table needs, because that man has the ability to go out there and to get it. Now, when he goes and gets it and brings it with your power, you multiply it. So neither one of us is more important than the other. You know what's happened, Brian? Is that we have been judging the other person's responsibility, and we have not put our hand to the plow and not look back. So that's why you have men criticizing women and women criticizing men, because we have both, in some capacity, become inconsistent in our manhood and our womanhood. Because I am telling the other person what you're not doing, what you need to increase, instead of recognizing that we both will fall short sometime and consistently giving the grace that we need from each other. When if I was married, Brian, and I see that, you know what, I would love for my wife to be different in this area some. I don't want to tell her that she's falling off, because I don't want to hurt her feelings. So what I will do is I will start doing more of what I want to see her doing. A woman who pays attention will recognize the fact I don't want him doing that. He must be doing it because I'm not doing it. And then she'll step up. Nothing wrong with having a conversation, no. But sometimes, to avoid a heated discussion getting out of hand, just step up. It's no need to criticize, just step up. But sometimes it is easier for us to call out, to criticize, to fuss, to fight, to argue, instead of, you know what, I married you, I gave you grace at that altar. I know you love me. Just because right now I do not see something I want to see doesn't change the fact that you still love me each and every day. You still honor me each and every day. Not allow this 20% that I'm not getting or receiving or seeing to overshadow the 80% that you're doing very well. Talk to.
You know, as men, we have the ability to cultivate
Yeah.
that woman to exhibit the things that we need.
Uh-huh.
And I think men have to understand that it is very imperative that
Yeah.
you choose the right woman who sees the ability to adjust and makes adjustments. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that your woman, God bless that you may not go through this, but just in case,
Right.
let's say that she gains a little bit of weight
Yes, sir.
and you see that she's beautiful,
Yeah.
but she didn't gain a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what you do.
Yes, sir.
What you begin to do is say, hey, sweetheart, let's go for a walk.
All right.
Let's go for a walk. Let's go for a walk in the park. Let's sit down. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's start with 15 minutes. Let's walk. You know what, sweetheart? Let's go on the treadmill. You get on this one, I get on this one. Okay,
Right.
you know what, sweetheart? While you're sitting here on this treadmill, I'm gonna go lift over here. And what you are simply saying to her, saying, hey, I know that maybe the reason why you may have gained a little bit of weight is because life is happening.
Uh-huh.
But in the process of you getting back to who you are, I'm going to be right there with you. Because one of the things that we have to understand as men is that our voices must be elevated in our actions, not our words. If you want to see her do something different, show her something different and
Yes,
include
sir.
her in that difference. Include her in it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. And I think that, Brian, it's the simple things that we tend to not realize how powerful. Like, that was a very short, simple statement, but profound. But we miss those simple, profound truths because of self righteousness, because of arrogance, because we think we know everything.
Mm,
We don't, we're intimidated sometimes
mm,
by other intelligent individuals,
mm,
right? I only have people like a Coach Brian, people like a JB on the sanctuary, because if they ain't gonna bring it, I'm good. I brought them up here because they counterpoint me, I counterpoint them. We learn from each other and make each other better. Iron sharpens iron. But we are so afraid sometimes because we think that that in our respective areas, whether you the pastor or whether you the teacher, the Sunday school, Bible said, no, I know, listen to me. When the truth of the matter is, no matter how old you are, no matter how what position you hold, how wise are you?
mm.
That's what I want to know. You know what I'm saying? Like get wisdom, because wisdom is the principal thing.
This is true.
But then all you're getting,
Get
get to
understanding.
understanding.
Get to
And when
understand.
people know how to reach the heart of
Mm,
men and women, and bring understanding,
mm.
that is when people grow. That is when people change. Because we can see now in each other the need to be better, not as a result of arrogance, but as a result of, you know what? That made good sense to me. That Coach Brian broke that thing down for me in a manner that really, really makes sense. You know what I'm saying? But oftentimes we got to get beyond ourselves and realize, you know what? I don't know everything. I am failing some in my own relationship because I have allowed myself to believe that no one could tell me anything about how I relate to my spouse, to relate to my husband, relate to my girlfriend, relate to my boyfriend. When I always say this, I always say that as a single person, I would never give a married person marital advice.
Mm.
But most issues within marriage are not specific to marriage.
Nope.
They are human interaction issues. They are breakdown in communication. They are situations that, while I don't believe in relationship problems, we bring a problem to the relationship. That's not specific to you being married. It's really about the fact that, you know what, in singleness, I never resolved this,
Mm.
right? With my friends, I may have this same issue because I find myself having the same problem with other people. So clearly, it is not specific to any relational status. It is about human to human interaction. And who are we consistently to the world? And that's what we don't look at sometimes, is that who am I consistently? How do I consistently show up for everyone? What response am I getting from people consistently that might tell me, you know what, I might should watch that. I might should adjust this. I might should fall back here. So sometimes I believe God shows us in how we deal with our friends an issue that our significant other might have with us. If your friend feels like you could be a little judgmental sometimes, I would bet that your significant other might feel the same way. If your friend feels like you could be a little short sometimes, I bet you your significant other feels the same way. And I always say that friendship is the fabric of forever. Because in friendship, that's where you learn how to be a better partner. How good of a friend can you be? How can you show up for your friends, right? If your spouse is to be your best friend, then within that friendship, are you so heavy on the having to feel in love all the time that you miss the natural needs of your spouse? Like the laughter, the joy, the going out and enjoying a movie, not having to be kissy face, but can you show up and be this person's friend when they're going through grief? Do they have your shoulder to lean on? Right? They need friendship in that moment, not romance. And sometimes we realize when it's time to transition, we don't know how because I don't have those skills. And when the moment shows up, we miss the moment. And I feel like, well, you must not love me. No, they just, you two never established that kind of relationship. You're good on the passion, but you're bad on the personality. You're good at being spiritual, but you're bad at being human. Talk to me.
The only thing I got to say, and then I got to roll on out of here
Yes,
in a
sir.
little bit. But
Yes,
the thing
sir.
that I got to say is when it comes to consistency,
Yeah.
it's it's an investment in determining how you can show up for that person. You know, one of the things that I have learned how to do when it comes to people is I've learned how do I need to show up for them, or anticipating what showing up looks like. Like, okay, I can give you an example. So I'm gonna show you an example of how simple it is.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday, no matter if it's early in the morning or no matter if it's in the middle of the day, I'm at my mama's house. And the reason I'm at my mama's house is I'm taking out her trash.
I love it.
I probably have like four times maybe not been there because I was out of town or,
Yeah.
I was just tired. But every Tuesday since I've been back home, my mom has had the opportunity to see me take something off of her hands.
Yeah.
Now, that being as simple as it is, why would you do something as simple as that?
Uh-huh.
Because it's those simple things and those simple details that people appreciate and that people enjoy about you. When I do that for her, what that says to her is, you value me enough to take something off of my hands with everything that I got going on, and even her being retired, with everything she's got going on, this helps alleviate her having to think about something that she was usually doing for herself before I got here.
Yeah.
But I took it upon myself because at the end of the day, I want to consistently show up in a way to where it alleviates something that she's been used to doing. And so now she gets to focus on the other feminine things that she can do, that she no longer has to worry about that aspect. And I think as men, we have to realize something. that just because a woman chooses to do something doesn't make her feminine.
Right.
But what you choose to take away from her only increases the femininity that she desires to walk in.
Say that.
Are you going to consistently give her the opportunity to take her femininity and expand it? Or are you going to expect her to be woman and be feminine enough to discover you when you haven't discovered who she is consistently?
Sir, I know you got to go, coach. I thank you, man.
Yes, sir.
Because as always, you blessed us. Listen, I'll get with you offline, brother. Tell them how to find you.
You can find me on Facebook, Brian Thomas. You can find me on Instagram, Coach BT316. You can find me on TikTok, Coach BT316, or you can find me at my website, www.championshipcalibercoaching.com.
Sir, as always, love you, bro. I appreciate you, man.
Anytime, man. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Sanctuary, listen, we're not done with the conversation yet because I have also got waiting in the green room backstage a wonderful friend of mine. She's also my barber. She keep your boy looking fresh and so clean. I know y'all see it. And I'm gonna bring her on the stage. She has a plethora of knowledge. She has been with her husband now, I believe, for like 31 years. And I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, I believe they've been married for 23 years, together for 31. And if I'm wrong, she'll correct me when she comes on. But listen, take your left hand and take your right hand and put it together for my friend, Mrs. Janet Washington Mayfield.
Well, hello, BFF. How are you?
What's happening? What's happening?
Nothing. What we talking about tonight?
So, me and Brian were talking about initially consistency within dating, relationships, and even within marriage. We were talking about it from a standpoint of what is expected versus what is gotten versus what's realistic. Like in the dating phase, for instance, people meet and the expectation is for a man to consistently show up immediately, but as a boyfriend before that has even been established. And how sometimes as men, we don't have any choice but to fail with this woman because the expectation was for us to be what we never even discussed yet. Like we just met 2 weeks ago,
Okay.
but you are expecting me to be a provider. I don't know you yet.
Correct.
I just met you, and I'm not saying that I have a problem spending money, but what I am saying is that as a good steward, I don't just want to waste my money or waste my time. So I'm gonna ask you, as a seasoned woman who, when I say been in the game, I mean this marriage game and has been above this dating and relationship. You've been there, done that. You're successfully married. But think back, if you were in this dating phase today, what would be your expectation of a man being consistent in the very beginning?
Well, I'm gonna say for me, it was never about money. It was never about paying my bills. It was never about us living together. Like that was never the thought.
Mhm.
It was, are you nice? Are you respectable? Are you a gentleman? And can you make me laugh and can we have fun together?
I love it.
But I never went into the dating game with I need you to take care of this, pay this bill. Can you drive? Can I drive whatever kind of car? Can you take? I That was never my thought. I
Yeah.
never thought that I wouldn't um help in my relationship. Like that never crossed my brain.
Right.
So when I hear that nowadays, it it takes me aback and it makes me laugh because how are you expecting this man to take care of you after 2 weeks? How are you expecting I've always wondered who left this earth and told you that you were worth a man spending all his money on you all the time? I- you've got to be, to me, as a woman, you've got to be one hellified woman to
Yeah.
get a man to spend all his money like that.
All of
And
it.
and what I'm seeing doesn't add up. Because
Yeah.
most of these women can't even boil a pot of water.
Mm-mm.
Most of these women have so much baggage that they're expecting a man to patch up, but they're not willing to do the work to patch it up themselves. Um, we live in a society where you want to be flued out like your girlfriends, but you don't know what the hell your girlfriend went through to get flued out. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me.
At all.
It makes no sense to me. Um, this dating game. And what's funny is I just had a conversation with one of my girlfriends, and we were talking about how the young women always tell us, well, y'all don't talk to us and y'all don't tell us things. It's not that we won't talk to you. You don't want to hear what we have to say. You don't want to do the work. You don't want to participate in your own greatness of your own relationship, is what I find. Maybe there's some out there that I haven't met yet, but most of the women that I'm meeting in society today, no.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. No.
We talked about how a lot of times we become so self-righteous that we don't feel like we need to be educated on what a relationship is, what a marriage is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't realize it is the consistent ignorance that
Mm-hmm.
causes failures in marriage, failures in relationship, because at the end of the day, I always say that marriage is the one thing in life that is lifelong, but there is the least training about. And we do not want to invest into figuring out what is this? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like could I benefit from not just reading, but can I hear what, from those who've been married for 15 plus years? Like, what has their experience been like? I mentioned to Brian earlier, I said that I used to say that people fall out of love, but I've come to retract that.
Okay.
I think people fall out of forgiveness, because I say that because God's mercies are new every morning. That's what the word says. And God is showing us that, well, God is love. So let me show you that you must have an endless supply of mercy,
Mm-hmm.
endless supply of grace for your person.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say you love this person, then love them. I realize the conditions may change, and that there may be a condition that says that, you know what, I can no longer be in a relationship with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've never been one to say that the love is conditional. But and like that I am one who's never subscribed really to the whole falling in love phenomenon,
Right.
because it is emotion driven. And
Right.
when people talk about it, it's always I feel, I feel, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Where if that's your motivation, within longevity, you're going to feel that way a lot,
Right.
but you're going to get over it. So if you're saying that this feeling causes me to not want to love you, or to even say that I'm no longer in love with you, then you will always be compulsive to your spouse, compulsive
Mm-hmm.
to your partner, because your
Mm-hmm.
emotions are all over the place. So they now cannot believe nothing that you say,
Right.
because you said today this, tomorrow this. So is your love for me based on how you feel? Is what you do for me based on the way that you feel about me? Or are you saying, you know what? I am your husband. So when I am heated with you and upset, I am still going to go out and make this money. I'm gonna pay these bills. I'm gonna come home to you. I might be a little angry, but guess what? Part of my provision as a man and providing as a man is is having my presence to show up when it's time to have a discussion about
Right.
our relationship. When it's
Right.
time to deal with our emotions, my presence is here. My emotional presence is here. My emotional commitment is here. Because I've said, I want to live life with
With
you.
you. Right. Right. I think you're right. Forgiveness for a lot of people is a hard thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's because why most people think it is.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that people know how to forgive themselves.
Uh-huh.
And because
Uh-huh.
people don't know how to forgive themselves, they struggle with forgiving their partners.
Yep.
We go into our relationships with these preconceived notions that
Yep.
it should be this way
Yep.
versus this is my partner. One thing that I tell women all the time is stop saying I want somebody just like my daddy.
Right.
Stop saying that.
Stop saying that.
Stop assuming that you're going to get your father. Because what women have to understand is you are not your mother and your father's not your man. Let me say that one more time. You are not your mother and your father's not your man. Therefore, what you're going to do is take in these things that your daddy did for you out of a father's love
Yep.
as opposed to a man woman relationship. Because your father does not treat you the way he treats your mother.
Right.
If your parents are together, your father and you and your mother don't even equate to each other
Right.
in his brain.
Right.
You're his baby girl. He loves you. I'm gonna take care of my baby girl because this is what the Lord gave me. But I promise you, if you ask that man, well, daddy, you got to save me or mama, who you saving? He's probably
Okay.
gonna try to save both of y'all, but he gonna save his wife.
Yeah.
Not because he doesn't love his children, but because the love of a spouse is a different kind of thing. So when it comes to forgiveness, if you're not willing to be in the forgiveness business, marriage is not for you. It's just not for you.
Yeah.
And it's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
But what I find is when people tend to forgive, they put stipulations on the forgiveness. Well, I'm
Ooh.
gonna forgive you because of this, or I'm gonna forgive you as long as you do this. There's never truly an unconditional forgiving. And let me tell you something. I didn't get to 31 years with conditions on my forgiving.
Come on now.
I love my husband, faults, flaws, and all. He's not a perfect man, but he's the man that God gave me.
Yeah.
So if I want his forgiveness when I wrong him, then I got to be able to forgive him. Now, like you said, there are some things that can break the relationship. But forgiveness should never be broken. You have to forgive your person in order to move forward. If I stayed in a place of hurt, I'd be back 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I'd be back at you know what I mean? I'd
Yeah.
be back at year 29 because you hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
You know, like what are we talking about? But
Yeah.
when you try to explain this to people, they have this idea, this notion, I'm married to you, we're going to have fun every day, we're going to skip through the flowers, I'm going to always be in love with you, you're going to always be in love with me, we're never going to argue, we might disagree a little bit, but it'll
Yeah.
be okay. Listen, listen, that ain't it, y'all.
Yeah.
That ain't it. It's just not.
Yeah.
This, we're not going to bed angry. Okay. Y'all gonna have a lot of nights where ain't nobody sleep then. Because reality is we're human, you
Yeah.
know? And so forgiveness and mercy is definitely the key. You have to have both of those in your relationship. I couldn't have made it this far without it. And people get to the point. I had someone tell me today, I'm leaving my marriage of 10 years because he did X, Y, and Z. And when he said, I will work on it, I will get better, that person said, well, you had 10 years to do it. It's too late. It's never too late.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
never too late if that's
It's
where you want to
not.
be.
I think that what I said earlier, that people fall out of forgiveness, I think that we literally believe some of the simplest toxic statements, such as love means never having to say I'm sorry. Love doesn't hurt.
Okay.
I think that we look at love as an inanimate object,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't look at love as a force that is driven by the individual.
Right.
God is love. And I think that Christians fall on that surface level statement, believing that God will not do things that sometimes hurt. That's not even scripturally correct.
Exactly.
Because if anybody reads the story of Jacob, and how Jacob went from being Jacob to then being called Israel, talks about how God wrestled with him as a
Mm-hmm.
result of having to break something in him to change him, which demonstrates that love shows you yourself, and yourself is not always pretty.
Exactly.
And anything like uh, precious metals,
Mm-hmm.
gold, have to go through fire to get purified,
Mm-hmm.
right? They don't feel good to the gold. I'm sure it doesn't. People have to go through situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always say that sometimes the storms of life are not by happenstance, right?
Right.
They are sometimes for correction,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
sometimes God has to correct some things in us and allow us to be in an uncomfortable space sometimes, where He creates a condition that creates conversation with the Creator. Because
Right.
sometimes if those spaces were never there, you wouldn't pray.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't allow yourself to kneel before God and allow God to deal with you, or even humble yourself to realize, you know what? I've been pointing my finger at her or pointing my finger at him. But you know what? I had this same issue over here dealing with my friend. It's
Mm-hmm.
me.
Right. But see, a lot of people can't say I'm the problem because
No.
saying that I'm the problem puts responsibility on self and
Yeah.
accountability to fix it.
Right.
So a lot of people will not say I'm the problem, or they'll say, well, yeah, I did it, but what are you going to do about it? The arrogance will override the fixing of the situation. Nobody wants to be wrong.
Right.
Let's just be honest. None of us want to be wrong.
That's right.
None of us, none of us want to say I messed up. Nobody wants to say my bad, I didn't mean to, right? And
Right.
even in your relationship, and I think that a lot of people, especially women, we've been given passes left and right. We've
Right.
been given passes from the beginning of time.
Yep.
That's a woman, you shouldn't be mad, don't get upset. Oh,
Yep.
that no, no. And so when we as women speak
Yep.
and we tell each other this,
Yep.
we are all these things except for, you know what? Maybe what she's saying is true, which is why I tend to encircle myself with people who can be honest with me. Just tell me the truth. Don't lie to me, because when I'm wrong, I need somebody to say, "Yeah, girl, get that together. Come on now. You shouldn't have said that or whatever." We won't hold our friends accountable. We won't hold other females accountable, which is why I don't have a lot of female friends, because a lot of people cannot just take the fact that you're wrong
Yep.
in the situation. And I also think that a lot of people don't take the time to understand their person. A lot of people don't take the time to understand who they're married to. I
Yep.
am married to my husband, okay? I've explained this many a times, but I'm gonna do it right here, right quick.
Yes, ma'am.
I love my husband four different ways.
Talk about it.
I respect him for the man that he is. That's first and foremost. I love him because he's my husband. I love him because he's my friend. And I love him because he's the father of my children, right? But if I can't do the first thing, and that's respect him as a man, because my husband was a man before he became my husband.
Right.
So I've got to see the man before I can see the rest of it.
Right.
So if I diminish, belittle, or take away from the man, then clearly my respect now is gone, which means I can't really love him in his eyesight
Right.
because I've taken that respect from him. So I need for ladies to understand that the love you're accustomed to as a woman looks different to a man.
Right.
And we're looking for the feel, the I love you, feel me, touch me, I can sense it, it's a good feeling. A man is looking for respect. Ladies, if you never say I love you to a man, but you say I respect you, and you demonstrate that, he's hearing I love you. I go through phases where I tell my husband, I respect you today, have a good day, instead of saying I love you, just so he understands that my husband's a man before he's my husband. And I have to see that. But I think a lot of the times we're not taught that. We're not taught. We're taught, okay, he's my husband, that's my man, that's my bae, that's my boo. And we wrap all of that together and we forget to see that's a man. That's not my man, that's
Mhm.
a man.
Amen. Hmm.
So, I try to get women to see that, but a lot of times and they don't want to hear that truth, but it just is what it is.
I think sometimes, because of the status quo now with dating relationships and the narrative that is on social media, period,
Hmm.
that does not really lend itself to be what you know as a married woman to be
That's
of
true.
marriage. That because real life conversing with a Janet Mayfield who's 30 plus years in the game takes a back seat
Oh
to
yeah.
I seen this meme on social media that's got uh 2,000 views. So what Janet talking about, even though she married and the person that posts that meme is not, what Janet talking about must not be true.
Correct.
Not realizing that we have ingratiated ourselves consistently so much into social media
Yes,
that
sir.
it's almost Janet like social media is real life and
Yes.
real life is social media.
Right. And then so when you talk to real life really ain't real. And I have a unicorn. You have a unicorn. You know how many times I hear that? You have a unicorn. No,
Yeah.
I don't have a unicorn. What I have is an adult man who lives in this house who said, these are the things that I'm willing to do as a man. Can you accept that? Do you want to be a part of this mission over here?
Yes.
Sure, absolutely. I want to be a part of this mission. Okay, have I always gotten it right? No, absolutely not. Have not. Even 30 plus years in the game, I still mess up. But I'm adult enough to understand it. But see, social media can't tell me what's real.
Hmm.
What's real is I got a man that goes out here and works. Social media will tell you that there are 666 men everywhere, 6 feet tall, 6 inches long, six figures in the bank, right? Okay, but studies and data tell me that the average height of a man is about 5'9", 5'10".
Right.
The average salary of most black men
Yeah.
is about 59 to 65,000 a year. So this 666 theory that all these women are looking for and this dream you're chasing
Yeah.
is just unimaginable to me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, if you find a man that makes six figures, can I tell y'all a secret? Hey, Tomel, can I tell y'all a secret about that six-figure man? Most men who make six figures, and I'm not
Mhm.
talking about just 100,000. I'm talking about the man that makes about 150 and up. You know what he does most of the time, people? He's working. So this
Right.
flued out, this traveling the world,
So,
even
so
when y'all on vacation, he got the phone to his ear like this, talking to somebody about something.
mhm.
So when we talk about that six-figure man, I can tell you about the six-figure man because I got one and he
Mhm.
works. And
Mhm.
and I appreciate his work. So I work in my home.
Right.
But when we talk about this, I have women go, "Well, I want a soft life." What is a soft life? I want a babysitter. I want a chef. I want somebody to come clean my house. Then what good are you useful? What how are you useful? You
Right.
not raising the kids, you not cooking the meal, and you
Yeah.
got some. So how are you useful? He
Right.
don't want you. I promise you, he don't want you. But and then I get told, well, your husband must cheat on you. Okay, but these lights are still on. This bank of cards still swipes. That car in that garage still turns on, and I still
Right.
pump this 93. What
Right.
you want? You know what I mean? Like it.
Yeah.
These are the conversations.
Yeah.
But I can tell you what. I can tell you my husband's favorite meal. My husband is traveling right now. Friday, he will come home to some from scratch pinto beans with smoked pork necks,
Come
some
on.
rice, some cornbread.
Mm.
My husband's coming home to a real meal. He ain't
I
coming
know.
home to nothing that's processed and out of a box because
Come on, man.
my husband deserves that. And when I tell women and I try to tell it get them to understand that while my husband works a lot, there's nothing that I don't have that I've wanted.
Hmm.
Nothing. But I also don't run with the Joneses. So I don't try to go out here and drive a Maybach when I'm living with Toyota money.
Right.
I'm not out here trying to live in a $600,000 house when I got a $300,000 house budget. I ain't
Right.
out here trying to wear, Dolce and Gabbana when I need to go over here to Michael Kors and grab one of these. See, I live within the budget, and most of y'all, and I'm gonna land here. A lot of women will say, "Well, I want to live this life. I want him to take care of me," but you're not willing to live in the budget.
Mm-hmm.
Because he'll tell you, babe, you can stay at home, but this is what I can provide. I can
Mm-hmm.
buy you a $250,000 house that's over there in a nice neighborhood. I
Mm-hmm.
can buy you the brand new top of the line Toyota Camry, but I can't buy you a BMW. That woman will scoff at the Toyota Camry and then tell you, I should be able to run your bank account up and you never
Mm-hmm.
complain about it. What?
How
Live
that
in
work?
your budget.
Yes.
It is not difficult. But when you tell women this, they think that you're lacking something because you don't just go out here and blow the money. I like to eat and I like my lights to be on.
Me
So
too.
it's nothing in this world that another person has that's going to make me look that man in his face and go, well, you can't buy me, so I don't want to be with you. What?
Hmm.
No, not happening. Not me.
You
So
know
if
where I
that's
think that comes from?
where,
I think that mentality is rooted in forgiveness that they have yet to give others, past relationships, and themselves. There are a lot of people that are holding on and harboring the pain of childhood, the pain of bad relationships, the pain of even a bad marriage that they're now divorced from. So now they project all that pain and feeling onto people they haven't even met yet. So every new person they meet, you must be the past. I'm gonna treat you like the past, not realizing the only way that you have a similar or same experience It's because you are making the same choice and acting the same as you did in the past. So
Correct.
you are creating, like, biblically speaking, only God has the power to create something out of nothing. But he gave humans the power to create something out of what's already here. So it is very easy for humans beings to build another bad relationship out of the scraps of the old one
That's true.
because you did not forgive that person. And,
Man,
and and my
listen.
thing is, look at how your last 3, 4 relationships been just alike.
Well,
That means you didn't change
right.
because you're the only consistent in the equation. And
Hello.
sometimes the forgiveness that I can't give you in the moment, I have not forgiven me.
Mm-hmm.
I have not forgiven myself for one, entering those bad relationships, for not being the man or the woman that I need to be at this time, or I have not forgiven my parents for not being there. I've not forgiven them for abandoning me. Something in your past is
Mm-hmm.
holding you hostage. And it's almost like people are upset about having to forgive someone new because you are holding them responsible for how you feel because you've chosen maybe a similar person. And
Mm-hmm.
now when this person does something in this moment that reminds you or triggers you,
Mm-hmm.
because trigger attached to trauma. So
Right.
when this person does something that triggers you now, and it might not even be the same thing, but just
Mm-hmm.
it reminds you of that. I refuse to forgive you. Because truth of the matter, Janet, is that it is not that people get so caught up into people from the past. You are caught up in the memory, is what you're caught up in.
Yep.
Because those memories are what remain, right? And even when you have, like, let's take somebody, let's change gears for one moment and say, if you have a heartbreak, right? You really love that person, things just didn't work out,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's gonna be hard for you to love again
Mm-hmm.
if you do not deal with the memory.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're struggling with. It's the memory of what that was, but also a memory is attached to what? A feeling.
Right.
So that memory made you feel a certain way. So now in this moment now, because you cannot feel that way now, you're upset about the fact that I want to feel that way and I'm not feeling that way. This present person that I'm trying to get to know now should understand me, even though I met them yesterday. They should know all about me. They
Right.
should make me feel good,
Mm-hmm.
make me feel loved, feel adored, not realizing that we are human beings that oftentimes thrive on what they call chemistry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you have chemistry? Girl, we got chemistry. Chemistry don't mean a John Brown thing because all chemistry is this person make you feel a certain way. Dopamine goes up,
Mm-hmm.
oxytocin goes up,
Mm-hmm.
serotonin goes up
Right.
because it's attached to feeling a certain way. And if you're saying that my dealings with this person or my love in the future is based upon those levels being a certain way, then what you don't realize is that you are what that great R&B prophetess said, drunken love.
Okay then. Well, and that's true. That's true. You speaking good. You're talking good.
Talk to
Cause
me.
see, this is the other part of that whole thing. People go into relationships, in relationships, and go into and have a repeat all the time because they're expecting people to make them happy,
Come on.
make them feel good.
Make me
I can
feel
be the
good.
way that I am because my husband doesn't make me happy. He
Mm.
adds to my happiness.
Talk to them. Talk to the people.
He doesn't make me happy. This smile on my face, that feeling when you put your clothes on and you get to
Mhm.
smell good on and you get, got that fresh hairdo and if a woman, you put your makeup on and all of
Yeah,
that. Let me tell you something. I look good regardless of whether my husband tells me I look good or not.
that's right.
Now,
That's right.
does him telling me that I look good put an extra pep in my step? Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. But the step was already there prior to him opening his mouth
Yeah.
because it's not his responsibility to make me happy.
Mhm.
It's mine. Happiness is from down within my soul. It ain't got nothing to do with him. He can add to it, but he can't subtract away from it and he can't take it from me,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
And I think what people need to do, and you're right. I think a lot of people get stuck on, especially with their parents and stuff. Let me tell you something. When you turn 18 years old, or whenever you leave your parents' house, it is now up to you to do what you need to do for yourself. Your
Yeah,
parents and what your parents did,
yeah,
you've got to figure out how to overcome that
that's
because your
right.
parents don't control your destiny. And so when it comes to your relationships, I hear more people go on a healing journey. I'm 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 on my journey. But you still doing the same things that you was doing before the journey started.
Yeah.
Learn to love yourself.
Hmm.
And loving yourself does not mean to emasculate, belittle, or demean the opposite sex.
That's right.
It just means that you learn to love you and your boundaries are your boundaries. But I
Hmm.
find that a lot of these boundaries that I hear really aren't boundaries. They're just unrealistic sticking points for these people. They're unrealistic. I'm sorry.
They are.
As a woman, some of these things that I hear from other women, and this isn't an age thing, this is a
Hmm.
woman thing.
Hmm.
These some of these things are unrealistic.
Hmm.
Because my thing is this, you brought up when I start dating my husband. I didn't date my husband for his money
Hmm.
because he couldn't do anything for me that I couldn't do for myself.
Hmm.
And then as time has progressed, I had to get that trust from him in order to be able to get to that portion of him where he was spending money on me, right?
Right.
But this is what I know about a lot of women. The Lord will hand you a man that's willing to give you all that you got. But the
Hmm.
reason why you can't deal with him is because you can't deal with the money that's currently in your hand. Because there's
Hmm.
no grown man on the face of this earth that
Hmm.
I know. And I said grown man. I didn't say
Hmm.
boy and big body. I
That's
said
right.
grown man who has gone out here, worked, got where he is in life, gonna turn around and hand you the keys to his castle, and you can't even balance the budget.
Say that.
No man. And so when we sit here and we talk about I want a man who can provide X, Y, and Z for me, but can you do that for yourself? Can you balance that budget in your household? Can you? Do you want to? Have you tried to? Because let me tell you something. I wasn't always great at it, but I knew what my husband's love language was, and I figured it out.
Right.
Because if you don't know how to manage his money,
Hmm.
how can he trust you?
Right.
If you're not managing your own, see, I always tell y'all, no, you don't have to be a wife when you're dating. That submission thing when you're dating, that's a whole different conversation. But you do have to show a man that you know how to do some things.
All right.
So if we sitting around here and you meet a guy on Wednesday, y'all go out on Saturday, and the next Saturday you talking about, babe, can I borrow 300, 400, 500, 600, $700 because I need new tires? Huh? What would you do if he didn't exist?
All right.
You gonna go get like like I don't get it. When you're younger, you do young and dumb stuff. But when you
Hmm.
grown, you do grown folk stuff. So yeah, everybody always assumes that I think I have the picture perfect marriage. No, I don't have a picture perfect marriage. I have the marriage that's perfect for me. Two
Hmm.
imperfect people came together to make this perfection. and
Yeah,
we work at it every day. So,
that's
you
beautiful.
know, this whole need for a man to make you happy thing, y'all need to do something about that. Because a man is not here to make you happy. He's here to add to your happiness.
You know,
No, G.
that whole
No.
that whole happiness thing um has been a debate for, I guess, decades now, because we were taught that happiness is the end all be all in many households, not realizing that that's a fleeting emotion that comes and goes. When I think what we actually need to have consistently is joy, because I can have joy in every season because I recognize the fact that this is just a season. It's rough right now, but I still love them. You know,
Yes.
we're going through a patch, but I would not want to go through a patch without them,
Yes.
because they might be the only thing keeping me sane in this tough time, right?
Absolutely.
Because I
Absolutely.
believe, Janet, that all every relational or marital issue is not a result of what you have done to them or they have done to you.
Facts.
Sometimes are just life be lifing, and sometimes outside people be peopling.
Mm,
Because and it's like sometimes you feel like, man, if it was just my person and this drama would never exist,
yep.
because most of the time we good.
So,
But when I
G,
come home and I bring an outside emotion or an outside interference in this me and you, now you got a problem with me, because I have reacted towards you, not about you, but about them or about that, or reverse it. Maybe
you
I'm
know,
mad because you brought outside reactions, and now I'm upset because I'm like, that ain't Janet.
right.
But
Right.
it's not, but it is, in regard to when other people disturb the peace that I have with you.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's an interference and interruption that neither one of us actually likes.
Yes,
And we
sir.
end up reacting to the interruption as opposed to attacking the issue
Mm-hmm.
and being like, but no, but we're good.
Mm-hmm.
But this interruption happened because, you know what? May, every time you go to the mimosas with with them or with that person, when you come back, it's like, or maybe when you go off with that homeboy, we good. I ain't telling you to be friends with, but they got issues in their stuff.
Yep.
And then it, you're giving them your opinion
Yep.
made you bring something into this situation that
Yep.
was not here.
Yep.
I don't even want you to ask me, well, baby, can I ask you, how would you respond to a situation that another person's spouse responded wrong to? Because I don't want you to judge my reaction against theirs,
Right.
because they're not me and I'm not them. Let's
Right.
keep A and B, and they can see their way out.
Right. Well, a lot of this, but see, you're spot on, because I can tell you, you have counseled me and my husband on many occasions, and we know that me and my husband's issues typically are outside factors. It's typically not me and him. It's typically outside factors that have now triggered these emotions and effects,
Yeah,
and not not understanding how to respond. It just turns into an explosion.
yeah,
We don't have those issues anymore because it's pointless,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
um it's amazing how people will see, and this is the one that I get a lot. Well, the devil comes in. Sometimes it ain't the devil, sometimes it's your mama
ooh,
or your sister or your cousin or your best friend or and so me and my husband have had certain social media platforms that I'm no longer on,
Hmm.
because those platforms would cause and trigger something that didn't have anything to do with either one of us, because what neither
Right.
one of us going through what was going on.
Right.
And so instead of me going, well, I'm grown and I can be on this platform, when I realized, you know what, I had to do what I had to do. And a lot of people will say, oh, well, that's childish. No, what's childish is not being able to recognize, or recognizing what the problem is and not fixing it. That's
Right.
childish.
You
Because
know
it
what?
ain't a soul on nobody's social media that's gonna pay these bills up in this house. There's
Okay.
not a soul on anybody's social media platform that's gonna look at me and go, Jay, I got you. There's not a soul on any platform that's going to love me the way that man does.
Hmm. You said something that I think more so our younger crowd might not can get with. But when I think about it, it's not even just the younger crowd. It's even those who are in the prime time of life.
Hmm.
And that is when you mentioned that about the whole social media thing, about how knowing that, well, if a certain social media platform invokes something in me that might create a problem within what I have, I'm going to adjust that and or get off. You
Right.
have those who would say, Janet, well, I'm not going to let my significant other tell me
What
what
you
I can or cannot be on. When that's not what you're saying, but that's how it's interpreted by some who do not understand the oneness that comes with marriage,
right.
right? It's not about being told what to do. It's really about recognizing the fact that I got to consistently show up and be emotionally mature enough to recognize the impact that my actions might have on my spouse, right?
Right.
Now, it might not be my intent
Yeah.
for something to look a certain way, but if what I'm doing or how I'm operating or how I'm maneuvering offends or causes an unfavorable reaction in my spouse, and this is something I don't have to do,
Right.
then maybe I need to adjust that and recognize the fact, you know what? This might create a lot more resolution, a lot more peace, a lot more harmony amongst us if I adjust this one thing. But
Yeah.
what I said earlier, social media had become real life, and real
Hmm.
life had become social media.
Right.
So it's in a sense, it's like I'm saying, I don't want to give up my real life, not realizing that social media is actually disturbing your real life.
Absolutely.
And it's crazy.
Absolutely.
It sounds crazy to say out loud. It
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
But that's what we do. And we don't realize that, like, something as minute as that could be the dissolution of a marriage or a relationship, all because we did not make that person number one priority.
Let me tell you something. Up in here,
Yes, ma'am.
the Mr. and the Mrs. are the most important people in this life. Not
That's right.
our children, none of that. I love my kids. My daughters are a blessing to me. But hear me clear. They don't come before their father.
That's right.
And they don't come before me. I have to protect the peace of my home.
Mhm.
So do I care that I may have 800,000 followers and they go, oh, she got off social, oh, she letting her man. Do I care? Not at all.
Yeah,
Not at all. Because I don't know y'all and I'm not going home with you.
that's right.
My husband's peace is more important to me than anything that anybody else has got to say, whether it be social media or even in my real life.
Hmm.
And I think that people, this is what I think. I think that people have gotten so far away from what marriage really is,
Hmm.
and that social media has created this fallacy of you're always going to smile, you're always going to be gonna love each other and you're always gonna have fun and you should always
Right.
travel the world and you're gonna date 10 times, 5 times a week, and he's gonna take you. Listen, life's when you're married.
Right.
And when you have longevity to this thing, it really lifes.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't think about losing parents, you don't think about losing siblings, you don't think about losing jobs, you don't think about having kids, bringing kids into life. Do they have issues? Like nobody thinks about those things prior to saying I do.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they happen, those are the moments that make you or break you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what you're going through, is how do you get to the other side of it. But
Mm-hmm.
when I speak this out of my mouth, I don't know what I'm talking about. These
Right.
men ain't the men of yesterday, and these ain't like your granddaddies, and this ain't blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you something. Do you know how many times I've had somebody say to me, in today's economy, you can't live off of one income? That's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you've been taught in social media, that you cannot live off of one income. You can.
Mm-hmm.
You have to choose to.
Mm-hmm.
That means that you're not running with the Joneses.
Mm-hmm.
That means that you don't care that your best friend who's across the street from you, or that your neighbor's husband buys her a new car every. That's not your business.
Right.
You know what I had to learn? What other people think of me is not my business.
Right.
Once I learned that, things got easier.
Mm-hmm.
I am here to protect my husband. What another person can never do is come to me and talk to me about that man. Unless you come in and say, "Oh, he's a good dude," blah, 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 blah. Do not ever think that you can come to me and talk to me about my husband. Because I am here to protect. And I think a lot of women don't understand protection that they can give their men. Just like men are not bullet bags and they're not ATM machines.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people have that idea twisted in their brain. A
Mm-hmm.
man is more than just a bullet bag and an ATM machine. He
Mm-hmm.
he really is. A man will protect you without having to physically be present.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women don't understand that. I have a lot of guy friends. You being my bestest of all the guys that I know. Best friend sitting right here in the screen next to me. But this is what I know. My best friend earned the respect of my husband because of the man that he is. But he is the way that he is, not just because Gregory Devon is a good man, but because I let him know who my husband was to me.
That's right.
I showed up. I show up everywhere as a
Right.
female barber.
Right.
You cannot come in my barbershop and think you gonna holler, you
Right.
gonna tell me none of that. Because
Right.
every client that I have understands and knows that woman loves her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Period. There ain't no question about it. There
Right.
is no, is there an intent? Can I slide in there? Do you think? Blah blah. None of that. That's no. That's an
Mm-hmm.
absolute no. And you can ask Gregory Devon,
That's right.
that's who I am everywhere I go.
All the time.
Because I'm married to that dude.
Yeah.
I'm married not because my husband's a good provider, none of that. He's just that guy.
Yeah.
And I love him immensely.
Yeah.
So, and this man here can attest to that. So you have to show up for your person. So me
Yeah.
respecting my husband, you can say whatever you want to say about me. That's fine. But you single and by yourself saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're in an unhappy situation saying it. Okay, leave me alone. That's what I got.
You know what I think happens for many, Janet, is that instead of believing that a healthy marriage is possible, it is easier to fall back on what has already happened. And what I think is that when we look at consistency, I think that we automatically assume that I'm talking about how consistent you can be to me.
Mm-hmm.
And we do not ask ourselves, who am I consistently?
Mm-hmm.
Like it is very easy to even the Bible says that it's easier to see the speck in your neighbor's eye than the plank in your own. Like
Mm-hmm.
if we were to ever assess who we are consistently, period, not
Mm-hmm.
just to our person, but to everyone. Who are you consistently? What is your character consistently? What are people saying about you? It is not true that there is not something to consider about the way I am perceived by other people, right? It's not all that matters, but if the masses are perceiving me a certain way, I have to consider, wait a minute, if that's not what I want to project, then what am I doing that is
Right.
making the masses perceive that, right?
Right.
I don't think before the relationship, before the marriage, I got to know who I am consistently.
Mm-hmm.
That when I show up, I don't ask you to fall in love with a stranger.
Right.
Because if I don't know who I am consistently, then when you ask me how do I respond in anger, I don't know. When you ask me what does it mean to be a provider or will you provide, I don't know. Or I have a one-dimensional view of what that is. Or whatever you ask me about myself, I'm uncertain of it. And what I find is that the reason that I think that relationships tend to get sexual very fast is that number one, it's not even a relationship yet.
Mm-hmm.
Two, the reason that you ran to the bedroom is because you know I need something to hide this bad character behind.
Woo!
I need something to distract them from the fact I ain't that great.
Right.
And I know it. I'm
Right.
not that great. So let me do something great in the realm of sexual intimacy that will take your mind and attention off of who I really am. This is
Mm-hmm.
why you have people, Janet, that you like, why are you still fooling with them?
Right.
What have they done right? And they can't they can't explain, girl, I don't know. They really don't know because they're not paying attention to the fact that it is this person's sex that is holding you. And it's not just the sex, it's how you feel in this moment. Because for a lot of people and a lot of women especially, they have their love, I'm sorry, that their heart is attached to this sexual intimacy, when in fact, that does not mean that this man is doing anything loving to you, but you have made this thing what it's not. Therefore, should this situationship continue on, you might do what? Fall in love, and this man has no intent even in being with you because nothing on this table has ever suggested that I was ever serious or that we had a serious situation going on, and you find yourself head over heels when in fact you met this person 50 days ago.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's crazy.
It is wild. Me and my husband dated six, 5.5, 6 years before we got married. And I tell people all the time, we never lived together.
Mhm.
And people are amazed at that. They're like, wait, what? We never lived together. Now, we spent many a nights at each other's houses, you know, but in terms of living together, he never got mail at my house and I never got mail at his. So we never technically lived together. We didn't start living together until he got out the military, and when he got out, moved back here, he started working, and then I moved here, and then we got married a few months shortly after that, right?
Mhm.
But we never lived together. And people are always like, well, y'all stayed with each other. That's no, 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 no. I paid my bills at my house and he paid his at his house.
Yeah.
Because we never wanted to enter into something that would be not what we wanted.
Hmm.
We didn't want to have that, and we had many debates about different things, but my husband had a set plan on how he wanted things to go. This is what he wanted. He has not wavered from what he wanted since we've been together.
Yeah.
It's been the way he has wanted it since then, even up until now.
Hmm.
And a lot of people feel like, well, you sacrifice more of you because you put down your dreams, you did it. You know what? I didn't sacrifice more. What I did was I put my family first. And then once my kids got grown, everything that I thought I wanted to do, I did. And I'm doing. You know what I mean? But a lot of people, when we get into this relationship thing, no one wants to sacrifice anything. But sometimes people fail to understand. Sometimes you have to sacrifice everything to get what you want.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that, and they don't want to. Do you know how hard it is to learn how to understand a man from a woman's perspective? Do you know how much work that takes? You have to study
Yeah.
your partner.
Yeah.
Study that person. But a lot of people don't want to take the time. I'm not
That's
his
right.
mama. I'm not his this. I can remember when John Gray
Hmm.
said that his wife was like the top of the pot
Hmm.
lid. And she was the coat
Hmm.
and his covering. What you mean by that? Blah 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 blah. They went in on John.
Hmm.
But I understood what he was saying.
Hmm.
Now, John Gray has been in the news for some crazy things.
Right.
But this is what I know. His wife has chosen to forgive him. So who
Hmm.
am I to hold that against him?
Yeah.
That's not my business.
Yeah.
Aventer Gray is still Aventer Gray at that house.
That's right.
So, I think that people want to equate relationships to marriage. It ain't the same. I think that people want to be a part of marriage in a way without being married. There are so many people that want to be married and assume the role of wife or husband,
Hmm.
but don't go get that piece of paper.
Mm. Hmm.
That one piece of paper, and I ask people this all the time and they never can answer it. And I actually got this from you. What's the one piece of paper that you can have? What's the one license that you have that never expires?
Talk.
Because it's meant to be forever.
Yeah.
It's meant to get through the hard times. It's meant to get through the times when you've seen the meme where the old man is sitting on the bench and the
Yeah.
wife is sitting next to him and it's pouring down raining, but
Got
he's
the
holding the
umbrella.
umbrella over
Yeah.
her head while
Yeah.
he sits there getting soaking wet, but they mad as fire.
Hmm.
That's what you're looking for in marriage. When
Yeah.
you can look at each other and go, you know what? I'm ready to smother you in your sleep, but I love you anyway.
Yeah.
My husband can be as mad as he can be with me, but I promise you, if I pick up this phone and call him, he's coming.
Yeah.
He is coming without a shadow of a doubt. And it's the
Absolutely.
same for me. I can be as mad as fire with him, but he is the one person that I love the hardest, and he's the one person that makes me the happiest, and he's the one person that makes me the angriest. And if your person, to anybody who's listening to me that's having trouble, if you are still angry, crying, mad, cussing, upset, bothered by anything they do, it is not time for you to quit.
Right.
It is time for you to work even harder. Because let me tell you something, it isn't until you shed that last tear and you have no feelings or emotions that then you can look and say, you know what, I've done my best. But if that person is still setting you ablaze, please
Hmm.
understand you're not done. You're
Hmm.
not done. and you gonna go out here in this world and have to try this with somebody new? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And do you think I'm fixing to give up on what I work? I didn't work in absolutely not. No,
That's right.
no, absolutely not. I ain't retraining nobody. I work too hard. No. Mm-mm.
You
So
know, I think, you know, when you talk about that studying piece, I mean, it's so true because we study for everything else. You get training on your job. You get training whenever you want to build something. You get trained to do whatever the task at hand is. But we somehow think that marriage is osmosis, it's automatic.
right.
When
Oh,
I
I
would
love you and you
debate
love
that
me.
marriage is arguably the harder thing to do, period.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
yeah,
Hands down. Because you're bringing two people together with two different upbringings, two different ways of thinking. Everything is different about you, and you're having to come together. And imagine that you didn't have somebody to show you what a good marriage looks
right.
like. You didn't have somebody teach you, hey, go to God in prayer to work through this. You didn't have somebody teach you how to talk to the other individual. You
Hmm.
you never had that. And now you putting these two people in a house to make decisions together.
Hmm.
Oh Lord. It is woo, because what do you do when you don't agree?
Right.
Because you're not going to agree on everything.
That's right.
What do you do when you get to that point where you've yelled and you screamed and you've cussed and you told each other up one side and down the other? One person walked out and drove away, came back. Like, what do you do in those situations? What do
Yeah.
you do when the bank account is telling you that you ain't got but $200, but you got $600 worth of bills sitting over here? What do you do? Marriage is not, it's not what people, it's not for the faint of heart. I want
Right.
people to understand that this thing called marriage, this is this is lifelong work. Some days you have to wake up every listen, being married and loving your spouse is waking up every day intentionally saying, I'm going to love you today. It is being able to say, okay, in the midst of an argument that you really know that person is wrong in, but you just go, okay, and
Hmm.
you let it go. Because
Hmm.
let me tell you something. If you love that person and you love it, pick your battles.
Hmm.
Because all these battles you trying to pick, they're not gonna
Hmm.
win the war. Pick the battle. Because I promise you, men are more simplistic than a lot of women think they are. Ladies, y'all go out here, y'all get these snuffleupagus eyelashes, these face beat to the guard, these weaves hanging down to your butt. You can't boil a pot of water. All you think is that if you just give him some, that he'll give you the world. Absolutely not. Because let me tell you what fades your looks
Hmm.
and that anatomy. That
Hmm.
fades. What happens if your person, like, it's such a thing, G. And I wish that people tell me all the time that I should talk and have this conversation, but people don't want to know what the real is. Like you said, they want the social media real.
Right.
And I'm not social media real at all. I'm real life real, you know? So I just I don't know. It boggles my mind. Gee, yeah, my mind be blowed. I'm telling you.
We need an excuse sometime for stuff didn't work. It's I figured this out that a lot of people uh intentionally choose to deal with individuals that they know are not on the same level as them. And when I say level, I mean, let me use a woman for example. A lot of times, a woman will choose men that they know they have to have a sense of nurture over and help this man to improve. And the expectation becomes for that man to be loyal because you are treating that man like he is your child. And with your child, that actually works because you nurture your children, you bring them up, and they love you theoretically for the things that you have done, you have provided, you've been a mother to them, you have loved
Mhm.
on them, made them believe in themselves. Well,
Right.
that's a different relationship. That's a
Absolutely.
parent-child relationship. If that mentality is taken over to romantic, what happens is that man ends up doing the same thing the child does once you're done rearing the child. They leave home.
Right.
They
But
leave you.
shouldn't a relationship be built on both of y'all teaching each other?
It
Shouldn't you
should.
shouldn't
But
you
what
be
happens
learning?
is that if you're heavy on the end of I'm doing this because I have an expectation and I'm expecting you to be loyal for me for bringing something out of you because I saw your potential. But what you never saw was, does this person want to be with you?
Right.
And that's
Ladies.
what jacks it up. And
But
even in the reverse, you've got men, damsel in distress, they see,
mm-hmm.
and you
Mm-hmm.
try and go save them. It
Yep.
might even go good for a while. You have saved the day. You have become her hero, but that hero syndrome eventually wears off. And then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes she realizes that, well, while he's a good man, there's no passion here. There's
Mm-hmm.
no romance here. She does not love you in the sense of eros or erotic. She has
Right.
more of an agape friendship
Right.
love for you, right? And it's like at the end of the day, we form these types of attachment to people, and then we blame them for decisions that we made to go and save them. When
Right.
in actuality, let me recognize my own faulty process
Mm-hmm.
and realize what I have consistently done in my relational history, and let me own this. But nobody wants to be accountable. Nobody wants to say, you know what? I create these fix it up situations that I want to fix. That is a sign of you have to be in control.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have to be in control, let's say you do find a functional relationship, someone that does love you, you love them back. Now you're so used to having to be in control, you want to control them. That when they step outside of your boundary box, it's a problem for you. When they
Mm-hmm.
start being their own person, it's a problem for you.
Right.
When you start seeing that, excuse me, they're not just this way, they're also that way.
Right.
Now you realize, you know what? I don't have the skill set to handle anybody's evolution. I can only love you one way. I can
Mm-hmm.
only love the part of you that I need, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to love the part of you that needs me. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard for somebody to love the part of a person that needs them because that's the part of them that not just rubs you the wrong way, they will offend you. It will
Mm-hmm.
sometimes hurt you. It will
Mm-hmm.
come for you because
Yeah.
that's the part in that person that maybe God has assigned you to help them to be softer with.
Right. Right. I think man, I sit and I look at men and women today,
Mhm.
and I hear that women always want, well, we need men, why can't y'all cry in public? Why can't y'all just be vulnerable around other women? I need women to understand a man only wants to be vulnerable with his woman.
Right. That's hard to do that.
And it's hard, and that's just what I was about to say. And it's tough for a man to be vulnerable with his woman because a lot of the times women will use that man's vulnerability against him as opposed to understanding it and keeping it in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I speak, I try to speak into women
Mm-hmm.
because we have some bad behaviors that have been created in us. We just do. Um that, you know, I think this bridge between men and women could come together if people were just learning to accept what they're accountable for. But we're so stuck in pointing fingers at who's doing right. This is what I know. This is why the question, what do you want out of a girlfriend, or what do you want out of a wife? They're two different things. I agree. Those are two different questions. Those are very much two different questions. But see, the thing is, we get so heavy set on what we see other people want out of a wife or girlfriend, or what a woman wants out of a man. It goes back to wanting that thing that that their dad did, or their grandfather, their uncle, or their brother. And it's like, but who is do you know the man you're with?
Right.
Do you understand that man? You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people don't understand the people that they're with. They just don't get them. You know what I mean? Like if you meet a man, I'll use the example of military men. Women will fall head over heel in love with military men. Their uniforms, they look good in uniform. Oh, they're this and blah, blah, blah. Until they got to go out to sea because they're in the Navy or the Coast Guard. They got to go overseas because they're in the Army or the Marines or the Air Force. They are gone. And then the loneliness starts to hit. It takes two special individuals to be together in that kind of lifestyle. But what happens is we don't learn the character of our person. Pay attention to the character of your person, not what they do for a living, not how much money they make. What is their character? Is their character flawed with never accepting accountability? Is their character flawed with, because they look so good, they know they look good, their character is they're super flirty? Because let me tell you something. Who you marry on Saturday or Sunday is going to be the same person that they were on Friday.
That's right.
And gonna be that same person Sunday and on after. So be mindful of not knowing the character of your person. And I think a lot of people miss that part. They don't understand their person's character. Who are they? Do you really know who they are? Because truth be told, that what do you want out of something? Now this is just me. I don't personally think that's a good question. And the reason why I don't think that's a good question for man or woman to ask is because if I come to you, Gregory Devon, and I go, okay, I'm single and I just think you're so cute and I just want to get to know you. What are you looking for in a girlfriend? And you list off 10 things. I want her to be this. I want her to be, a Christian. I want to, her to go to church. I want her to understand that I'm a pastor and, I have different things. I want her to be able to have a good time. I want her to get along. Like, list off those things, right? She's going to be everything on that list for you because you've already given her the keys to what you want.
That's right.
So I don't personally think that anybody needs to go into the relationship looking for what somebody wants or even answering that question, because anybody can play a role if you give them the answers to the script. Maybe I'm wrong, but the biggest thing that I also find with y'all, what y'all got going out here in this single life, y'all don't have fun no more. Y'all have no fun with each other. Y'all don't laugh. It is in the first 5 minutes. Where do you work? How much money do you make? Do you have kids? Are you looking for a girlfriend? I'm looking for a man. Are you dating with a purpose? Blah, 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 blah. Y'all just don't have fun no more. What happened to that aspect of dating?
I
where
think
you
it's
can
becoming
just
impossible
breathe.
because they're not friends. They're two strangers. Like when like the question, I don't think that people assess their hierarchy of needs from different lenses. We say this often. I know what I need. Knowing what you need ain't but half the battle. Because what I need in you is different than what I need from you. I don't think people break that thing down. What I need in you is honesty,
Right.
integrity, truth, faithfulness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are character traits.
Yeah.
But what I need from you has to do with how I need you to show up for me.
Right.
I need you to understand this about me when I'm angry. I
Right.
need you to understand this about me when I'm sad. I need you to understand about me when I'm going through a situation. Understand that I sometimes disconnect unintentionally when I'm really stressed because I don't want to bring you down. I'm not saying that's the proper thing to do, but I'm saying I need you to recognize that about me and to not be offended or attack me for my process that I've had 30 years prior to you coming into my life. We
Mm-hmm.
don't break stuff down to the point that we can communicate the difference between what I need in you and what I need from you. So we end up getting with a person that I've only asked half the battle, or I've only seen half of situation. I've seen, well, they seem to be generally honest. Okay, there are a whole lot of other things that you better look for. Or they are a decent person. I want a decent person. I want a phenomenal person, not a decent person. And I think that people have we miss sometime even. I mean, if the Bible tells me that God has plans to prosper me, not to harm me, to give me hope in the future, I believe that. So I don't want a decent person. I want a phenomenal person. And I know that God would have me to set up my needs in a way that the person that I come across eventually will be phenomenal for me,
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal to me,
Mm-hmm.
because they speak like we say things like, speak to the queen in me, speak to the king in me. What do I mean? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
My thing is for them to do that, you have to see yourself first, even that way.
Right.
And if you saw yourself that way, you would not have the history that you have because you would recognize, you know what? I'm going to put myself on reserve for the one that God says I deserve. You
Mm-hmm.
would do that. Or, and I said on social media earlier this week, I said, stop letting people with no abracadabra tell you what to do with your magic.
Mm.
You
Ooh,
understand?
that's a word.
You ain't got no abracadabra,
That's a
but you
word.
telling me what to do with my magic. And I'm
That's a
listening
word.
to you. Why? If you're not in a better state than I am in regard to this, why am I listening to you, or why am I judging my life based upon you? Why am I even allowing you to pour into me? Because clearly it's not working. It didn't work for you.
Right.
If you keep opening the door to everybody, then you don't see yourself as
Mm-hmm.
special. You don't recognize the value that God has placed within you. Because if you did, you will realize, you know what? I'm gonna protect my tea, time, energy, attention. I'm not gonna pour my tea into anybody's cup because this special brew over here is not going to be appreciated by just anybody because Gregory Devon is an acquired taste.
Hello.
And I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. But we think, Janet, that being a good man means that I'm good for everybody. No, I mean, if you are generally a good man, meaning that you're honest, you have integrity, yeah, you could function on some level with pretty much anybody else that is functional as well. But it does not mean that you have the strength and the power for longevity with that person.
Right.
Because do you still have the same core values? Are you going in the same direction in life? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I consider you to be a virtuous woman.
Mm.
Even though we've had conversations about this, and I know your take on it. But I'm saying I also recognize the fact that, you know what? Janet Washington, before the Mayfield,
Mm-hmm.
Janet Washington was everything that Gregory Mayfield needed.
Right.
That's why Gregory Mayfield made Janet Washington Mayfield,
True.
because this was the virtuous woman that was purpose for him. And
Mm-hmm.
he recognized that,
Mm-hmm.
and he connected to that and didn't want anybody else to
That's right.
have her.
Right.
So to any woman, don't let no man tell you they don't believe in marriage. Because when a man really loves you,
He's gonna
he
marry you.
does not want any other man
To
to
want to.
have you, to
Yep.
be too close to you, to say the wrong thing to you, to look at you sideways, to give you inappropriate compliments,
That,
because
that's
you
true.
are their good thing.
Yes, sir. That's facts. That's facts. That is fact. And a lot of people will go, um, that's just a little bit, uh crazy. No, 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 no. Mm-mm. 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 Um, my husband tells me that he works too hard to
Yeah.
make sure that I am good and I'm taken care of to
I
allow
know that.
anybody to mistreat
Ooh,
me.
I know that's right.
Now that's what he says. So, and I can't argue with I'm not gonna argue with that
Yeah,
with him. Because I can't tell my husband how to be a man
yeah,
or a husband. I can only respect he is the man for me and
yeah.
my husband. I don't tell my husband how to be a man. Well, if a man with blah blah no, 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 I don't. Because I don't have the space to do that because I'm not a man, number one, right?
Yeah.
Um, I, I think a lot of women have met some really good men,
Mhm.
but a lot of women couldn't handle those men because they felt like you're trying to be my daddy. Um, the first piece of protection that a man will provide for, see, women talk about protection and provision
Mhm.
all the time. Men will give you protection just by speaking to you,
Mhm.
and a lot of women can't hear it. Babe, I don't want you wearing that dress when I'm not with you.
Mhm.
He never said don't wear the dress. He said,
Mhm.
I just don't want you wearing it when we're not together.
Mhm.
Because he's a man, he knows what other men are thinking. And then y'all gonna pick up the phone and call and be like, babe, such and such happened and blah 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 blah. And then you want him to show up. Now,
Right.
because of the man that he is, he's gonna show up.
Mhm.
But it's not gonna go the way you think it's gonna go
It ain't.
at all. But that's his protection of you
Yeah.
that I find a lot of women can't handle. Um, Again, Gregory Devon is one of my best friends. I'll never forget. We went out one night. We
Mhm.
were on a panel together.
Mhm.
Said the panel got done. We were probably 5 minutes through chit chatting with people, and about 5 minutes had gone by, and I felt somebody grab my elbow, and he said, "Let's go." And I said, "No, I'm good. I'm straight." He said, let's go." Now, to some people, when they hear that, they go, "Oh, he was trying to tell you what to do." No, player. Mm-mm-mm. Gregory Devon was like, "It's some folks in here that you will not, and you will never have your husband come looking
Okay.
at me." Because what people fail to understand is that my husband ain't gonna just hold. He gonna hold who was there. I
Okay.
want to know who was there. And then he come to talk to you. That's just so Gregory Devon is one of the few people that my husband actually trusts. When if I'm going to a panel, he goes, "Is Gregory Devon gonna be there?" I'd be like, "Well, golly, I can't. If he ain't gonna be on the panel, you ain't going." Oh, okay then. But a lot of people hear me say that and they go, "Oh, your husband just tell you what to do." No, we protect peace over here.
Okay.
I, you can say what you want to say about me, but I don't want for nothing, lack for nothing, hurt for nothing, none of that. And I'm very happy. But when I try to have this conversation, um, the reason why and it just clicked to me sitting here. The reason why most women can't understand this conversation that we're having, and especially from me, is because they've never dealt with a grown ass man.
Right.
So when I speak this way, it sounds foreign to them.
Hmm.
And I wish that they could get outside of who they are to understand what this really looks like.
Hmm.
To really be loved down in your shanana.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, to be loved from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. To have somebody who will move heaven and earth
Hmm.
just for you. When you never experienced that, you don't understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Cause I'm loved down in my shanana. Even when he strikes my nerves,
Yeah.
I know I'm loved. And I just wish that for other women. And
Yeah.
I wish that I could get y'all to really understand what I'm saying when I speak about it. Because this is a love that I wish all, especially all my black sisters, I wish all of y'all could feel it.
Hmm.
Because it's wonderful. It's good over here.
I think they have to first, I'll say we have to first believe that it's possible. And we have to stop like as a single man, I appreciate Janet and Greg Mayfield because not just for their friendship, but because they allow me to be around them, right? As a single person, understanding my place, that this is you around them during this time, but they need a private time. You gotta go. You understand? And I'm like, I think that as single persons, people, we have to recognize that there's something that you can only learn through doing,
Hmm.
right? There is a book knowledge, there is the observation knowledge, but then there's the knowledge that only comes from being in something, right? Now there's value in all of that, and you need all of it to come together to help you once you're in the function right. But we have to all value and appreciate where we are, know where we aren't, and be humble enough to say, I can't tell you what that feels like. Therefore, I can't tell you how I would react.
Hmm.
I would want to do this, but I don't know if I have the capacity yet to hold that weight of marriage yet, right? And I think that sometimes, Janet, that we got to be humble enough and not afraid to acknowledge that, you know what? I don't know if I have the capacity to hold the weight of my desire, right? I think a lot of people think that well you want that, but are you prepared, right? I
Hmm.
know India already said I'm ready for love, but are you prepared for love? Are you prepared for the weight of that type of love to where I don't have to be in a marriage to know I'm certain that it is not what you expect it to be. Now it's gonna be great, but I'm saying everything has some valley moment that you don't see coming. And sometimes your valley with that person, you can't even imagine it right now because you've
Hmm.
never been there. Right.
Hmm.
I think sometimes we as singles are afraid to say sometimes, I'm kind of afraid of what I don't know
Hmm.
because that's not just a relationship. It's
Mm-mm.
not.
No.
It is, but it's a lot deeper than just being in a
Mm.
relationship Because once you sign that paper, which is why it does matter, once you sign that paper, once you stand before the pastor, especially if you're a church wedding, and make that covenant at the altar, and you really like, man, this is from God and my loved ones, and if you are a person of faith, you understand the biblical principles behind this, and you value that, and you try to honor that. That's a heavy weight now that I'm saying, to death do us part. There ain't nothing you can do that's gonna make me put divorce on the table. There ain't nothing that you can do gonna make me leave you, even though I know that you're gonna make me mad. It might even be a time where I feel even betrayed, right? Because I used an example earlier with Brown, and I said, I think that if people examine Judas and Jesus and realize the grace that Jesus gave Judas in the very beginning, that when the offense happened, I knew you were going to do that. I gave you grace, and I allowed you to have relationship with me all this time, knowing that you would mess up and betray me. But I also recognize that your betrayal does not mean that you don't love me. It means that in that moment, you allowed yourself to be overtaken by something else, whatever that something else may be. I would just believe that sometime in human relationship, the very same thing happens with us as regular people, is that I wasn't being as intentional as I needed to be. And I allowed something to happen and come between us and cause a disconnection that might not necessarily be infidelity, but it might be unfaithfulness, meaning that I stopped being as committed now because I allowed myself to lose sight of what we have. I allowed myself to be overtaken by selfishness, self-righteousness. It could be anything that caused this disruption that we say ahead of time would never happen. No, it's gonna happen. I tell every couple I marry at this altar, I say, repeat after me: loving what I know of you and trusting what I do not yet know.
Yes,
So
sir.
there are things that will happen that this person doesn't even know.
Yeah.
That they're not keeping it a secret. They just didn't know they was going to do that. They did it, but I gave you grace at this altar because I said, to death do us part. So that means that, so when the Bible talks about love covering sin, my love for you has to outweigh anything that you do. It's got to cover that. And it's got to bring me back to a place where, okay, let's be human and say, okay, there's certain things that right now in this season, we're not going to be what we need to be. We got to work on this thing, which might mean we got to go to counseling. A lot of it. It might mean that, you know what? I'm not as affectionate with you in this season right now because I'm working to get back to that. But the question is, do you think your person is worth it to do the work? And that's what we don't assess sometime prior to a serious relationship or a marriage. Is are you sure that this the person that you want to do life with, that you're saying you are worth the work? I don't care what happens. We're going to do the work. It might mean that, you know what? We got 4, 5 bedrooms. You sleep in there and I sleep in there. But we ain't getting divorced.
Right.
And I think that it has to be, Janet, that serious, especially in this day and age, because we're living in a time that we've never seen before. We got people got a whole wife, a whole husband on the internet. What?
Right.
You
Be like, what?
you in a whole relationship. You dating somebody in prison. What?
What?
And
Right.
you in a whole you in love that when
Yeah.
they get out, you have actually said in your brain, this is my address. Come and live with me. What?
Right. Or you got life. I'm spending all my money on a lawyer that's gonna help you get off because you really didn't do that, or you was just a different person then.
Come on.
What?
Come on now.
You killed your ex-wife, beat up your baby mama prior to that, and every girlfriend you had, but you ain't gonna do me like that. What? And so you said something earlier, and I tell people this all the time. Me and my husband took divorce off the table. We took it off the table.
Mhm.
You big mad, you little mad. Go on in that room in there. I'm about to go cook dinner. Okay. See, I had to read a book called The Power of the Praying Wife, Stormy O.
Ooh,
Martin.
I know
And
that book.
and it's certain things in that book that I had to start applying. Because you get as a woman, you're taught certain things.
Yeah.
Withhold sex. Who
Mhm.
told y'all that? Stop that. Stop that. Because people don't understand that when you withhold, you're also withholding from yourself. Stop it. Sometimes it takes you to get that to get to even talking to each other.
Mhm. Mhm.
Stop going weeks without speaking to your partner. I know people right now who have spouses that are in the ground.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They have spouses that are in the ground because they were so mad and the spouse went to work and didn't come home.
Mm.
Um, Stop thinking you're gonna be in love all the time because you're
Mhm.
not. Just like you said, them seasons come. There are seasons where you just don't like each other. You wake up and go, I married you. Lord, please don't let me smother him in his sleep while he's snoring.
Okay.
um it's a lot that comes and it is heavy. It's
Yeah.
heavy to love a person unconditionally. It is heavy to love a person through the good times and the bad, for better or worse, in sickness and in health. People don't really know what that means when
Mm-mm.
you speak it.
Mhm.
So you have to learn to love your person, faults, flaws, and all. If you think you're gonna be married to somebody that's never gonna hurt your feelings, don't get married.
Right.
If you think you're gonna be married to somebody who's always gonna get it right and they're never gonna hurt you, don't get married.
Right.
Just don't. It's a waste of your time. If every time y'all debate it's got to go to the nth degree of divorce, don't get married. We took marriage divorce off the table. We're gonna fix this in here. Because we didn't get married to have kids
Mhm.
to be separate in separate houses.
That's right.
And now my children are adults. We didn't get married for them to become adults for us to stop loving each other. So you have to find ways to stay in this game because you got people that are on the outside of this game you live in that's looking on the inside at what you got, that's trying to figure out how to be where you are.
That's right.
And I'm telling you, it'll be your bestest of friends, it'll be your sisters, your cousins, it'll be the women in your church. They will look at you and see this man loving you the way they want to be loved
That's right.
and will try and will take your spot.
Right.
You can't have what I got. Not because, oh, he's the richest of the rich. I work too hard for this.
That's
I
right.
work too hard to love my husband, to just hand it over and be like, oh, I quit. No, dog. No. We said for better or worse, richer or poor, sickness and in health. There are things about my husband that nobody else knows.
Mhm.
And people don't understand that. People don't understand. My husband, it boggles his mind how I can finish his thought. You gonna do this. You don't know me. Okay. How you knew I was gonna do that? Because I study him. I just got off the phone with my husband. The tone in his voice tells me everything that I need to know. When
Mhm.
he's ready to tell me about it, he'll tell me about it. If he's never gonna tell me about it, he won't. But guess what? It doesn't offend me.
Right.
Doesn't hurt my
Right.
feelings. Because he got friends and other men that he'll pick up the phone and he'll call and he'll talk that out with them. I don't have to know everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's human. But please understand, when you get in front of your pastor, your magistrate, wherever it is you get married, please take marriage seriously. It's not a game. Don't think that if you don't like each other right now, you won't ever like each other again. Don't think because you're arguing right now that you won't ever get out of that.
Right.
Because you will. You
Right.
you do. Because he's human, you're human. You fighting whatever you've been through, he's fighting whatever he's been through. Y'all have come together. Because let me tell you something. If y'all think y'all going into marriage with all these fixed people, oh, I'm fixed, my journey, you're not. You're
Right.
not. But you can love them through it.
Right.
You are not. I'm telling y'all, you're not. You're not even fully healed and whole.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got some suppression down that you done
That's
pushed
right.
that thing all the way down. And then that person that you can be vulnerable with has come into your life and that thing comes floating back up
Mm-hmm.
and you got to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
If this is who you choose. Now, me and G talk about this all the time. Everybody ain't meant to be husband and wife.
Okay.
All y'all ain't meant to be married.
That's right.
Never in my life have I heard about so many red flags. But if y'all with these dudes who barely making ends meet, he's probably
Mm-hmm.
not the person for you.
Okay.
Mm-mm. If a man can't put you in a castle, and that's just a figurative word, people, figuratively. But if he doesn't have a home to put you in, and you live biblically, what we doing? What we doing? Because I ain't taking care of nobody. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do my job as a wife. Oh, I'm going to absolutely do that. But my job is your helpmeet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm, I don't want to
But,
talk
but
too
that's
deep.
right. I mean, and I'm gonna go back to the castle word, and I'm gonna say to the man, you can't want a queen and have no castle to put her in. You want her to be your angel, have her to exist. Because at the end of the day, you have to prepare for what you desire, make room for what you desire, make sure that you know that as a man, our worth is in our work. I'm not talking about your career. I'm talking about your work to build as a man.
Mm-hmm.
How have you built yourself? How have you structured yourself? What is your personal infrastructure that when you encounter her, you never have to have a conversation about providing because all she sees in you is provision
Mm-hmm.
because she realizes, man, I am impressed by the man that's in front of me. This man is not only industrious, but he can talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
He has some emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, he when I need him to show up, he shows up.
Right.
He understands that I need his presence more than anything.
Absolutely.
You
See,
need his presence physically, financially, emotionally. You know what I'm saying? Spiritually, you need his presence. And when a man, I always tell women, Janet, I say, don't want a rich man, want a generous man.
yes, sir.
Because a generous man, no matter what he has, he'll give it
It's
to you.
yours. It's
He'll
yours.
give it to you.
Let me tell
And
you
it's like
something.
if a man is generous
Mm,
in nature, that means that he's generous with his time, his talent, his
mhm,
treasure, right?
mhm,
He likes for those around him, especially you, to feel good because
mhm,
he's a generous person who has a
mhm.
generous attitude. He is empathetic, right?
Yeah.
And if he's generous, This man wants to give of himself unreservedly for your benefit. He's a generous man. See, if he's just a rich man, being rich does not mean that you're generous.
Yeah.
Rich means you're
Facts.
enterprising. You
Uh-huh.
can acquire money.
Yep. Yep.
Wonderful. But
Yeah.
you want it all for yourself. But if he's
Yep.
generous, he will give of himself however is necessary. And you will not have to be wondering at the end of the day, is this
Mm-hmm.
man going to show up for me?
Right.
Because a generous man adores his woman. It's
Mm-hmm.
the difference between love and adoration.
Yep.
When that man love you rather, yeah, he'll sacrifice, he'll love you. When the man adores you, it's the little things. You know what? She mentioned that she wanted that bag. I got a little extra change. Let me get that for her and just surprise her on a whim. A man who adores you on his day off will get up early and sometimes make you breakfast. If it happens to be uh, bad weather, he'll go outside, clear the walkway, cut the car on, make sure it's warm for you. That's
Yep.
adoration. You
Yes, sir.
appreciate that person,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, you do the little small thing. You know how to touch her without touching her because
Mm-hmm.
that's truly touches
Mm-hmm.
her. You
Mm-hmm.
understand what I'm saying? You
Oh, yeah.
understand how to throughout the day, you know, not every day, but some days, you know, how to keep that desire going. You know, reach out sometime. There's power in just reaching out. I
Absolutely.
ain't want nothing. I'm just calling. Okay, bye.
Right. Right.
You don't that man just expressed to you all the love that you think that he didn't have, and you don't miss it because he told you, I ain't want nothing. I'm just calling.
Uh-huh.
That means that I ain't really want nothing, but for whatever reason,
I just
all
need to
I can
hear
think
your
about.
voice.
I
Yes,
swear, hear
sir.
your voice.
Yes,
I
sir.
heard it. I'm good. Bye.
All right. Bye. Click.
Click. He want to know that
He
you're okay.
he might have called you at 12 o'clock and then turn around and call back at 12:10. Hey, what you doing? Same thing I was doing 10 minutes ago. Oh, okay. You all right? I'm good. Everything all right on your end? Yeah, yeah. I'll just call and check on you. All right, I'll talk to you later. All right, bye. Click. You be looking at the phone like, boy, you just called me. 12:15, that phone might ring again. Hello? You all right? But see, y'all will miss it because y'all will go, he must be doing something. Let me tell you something. If you got a man of character and substance, the furthest thing from your mind is him being out there in them streets.
Yeah.
Because that's the furthest thing from his mind.
Yeah.
Because you'll have a man that's so consumed with what you need. I got to get this money to give you what you need.
Right.
Not what I need, what you need.
Yeah.
And sometimes, not even what you need, what you want.
Yeah.
But see, y'all will miss it.
Yeah.
Y'all will miss it. Because your girlfriends told you, well, girl, my man said this and he did that. And they man be the one that's out there in them streets
Mhm.
for the streets. You understand?
Yep.
Everything you said was spot on. Um, my husband travels. He's gone right now. But I done talked to him probably about 10 times today. Hey, what you doing? Nothing. What you got going on today? Nothing. Oh, you ain't got such and such and such and so and so and so and such? No, I'm good this week. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
My husband is not a the most conversive man,
Mhm.
but if he hadn't heard from me, and y'all need them texts all day, and
Mhm.
grown men ain't got time for that, y'all. I'm trying to tell y'all, this stuff that social media has got women and women believing that men should do, this stuff is unrealistic.
Right. Right.
He at work, he's supposed to call you every day, all day.
Right. You know, sometimes again we fool ourselves. I believe you had to have the disconnection. But sometimes, again, those who are still watching, we miss um, those small things sometimes that mean the world to the other person. But if you're not conscious of what they like, you'll sometimes miss that moment and miss a meaningful moment that you can have actually a light bulb moment in your relationship. I think sometimes, we get so caught up in it, as she was saying before she got cut off, these social media phenomenons that have us believing the unrealistic, have us trying to be who we're not, have us sometimes trying to um, play a character that we have no desire or no intention in continuing to be, because it's not who we are. That we sometimes find ourselves in a situation in the future that we just didn't plan on being. But I know we have probably been on about 3 hours. I'm gonna go ahead and close down the sanctuary for the night. As always, when you said all you know, it's time to go. Thank everybody for watching. Always tune in to us on Envision Radio every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, Envision Radio every Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're always bringing you hot and heavy episodes. I love you with the love of the Lord. I'll see you next time. Peace.